Thank you. Sorry about that. So the approval of the minutes for November 14th and December 19th. I will make a motion to approve that. Is there a second?
I'll second the motion.
The motion for approval of the minutes is approved. The next items are applications submitted for consideration. Item number 1, the Revere Restaurant Group, Inc., DBA Tio Juan Margaritas Mexican Restaurant at 85 American Legion Highway. Jeffrey K. Saylor is the manager. This is an application of the Revere Restaurant Group, DBA Tio Juan Margaritas Mexican Restaurant, for a change of manager from Kevin Michael Light to Jeffrey K. Saylor. Is there anybody here on behalf of the Revere Restaurant Group? Your name and address for the record, please, sir.
Jeff Saylor, 30 Parkside Place, Malden.
Very good, sir. And do you have any plans for this place beyond what is being done there?
Just status quo.
Do any of my fellow commissioners have any questions?
Everything is going to remain the same, no change in hours, no. Have you been with this company long?
Yeah, I've been with Margaritas for about 23 years in different spots.
Okay. And you're Jeffrey Saylor?
Correct.
Okay. Is Kevin Michael Light here?
No, he's not.
He's not.
He's not affiliated with the restaurant anymore.
Oh, he isn't?
No.
Oh, okay. I have no other questions.
Thank you. Do you have any other questions, Commissioner LaCroix? There are no other questions. Are there any proponents out there? Anybody want to speak on behalf of this? Seeing and hearing none, I will close that portion.
I just wanted to ask one more question. The Revere Restaurant Group, is that in any way affiliated with the Wonderland Dog Park?
No.
No. At one time, was it?
Not that I'm
the
aware
restaurant
of,
group?
but I don't believe so.
No. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Are there any opponents out there? Is anybody opposed to this transfer? Hearing and seeing none, I will close that section of the meeting. Would someone like to propose a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second the motion.
The motion is approved for the Revere Restaurant Group, Inc., DBA Tio Juan Margaritas Mexican Restaurant. The application for a change of manager is approved from Michael Kevin Light to Jeffrey K. Saylor to be exercised at 85 American Legion Highway. Thank you very much, sir. Item number 2, Shirley Investments, LLC, 194 Shirley Avenue. Jamie Russo, LLC manager. This is an application for a change of number of lodging house rooms. The application of Shirley Investments, LLC for a change of the number of rooms to 17. The previous number of rooms was 24. Speaking on behalf of Shirley Investments, LLC, name and address for the record, please, sir.
Jamie Russo, 1040 North Shore Road, Suite 2, Revere.
Very good. And can you tell us a little bit about what your plans are for this location?
It's basically been renovated to, it was an existing lodging house for many years, as many of you know. It has been renovated. There are no more common baths, so each unit has its own bathroom, has its own little kitchenette. We begun taking applications for rental, and we're just here to comply to bring the correct number of rooms down from 24, which is now 17 rooms.
Very good. Thank you very much. Do any of my fellow commissioners have any questions?
I have no questions. Where are you now in the remodeling?
We're just about complete. We're at the punch list phase, which is testing fire alarm and final inspections from ISD, et cetera.
Okay. And these are one-bedroom apartments and studios?
All studios.
They're all studios?
They're all studios, yes.
Okay. I have to say, you've done a great job, and it's really added quite a bit to that area.
Thank you,
And thank you
Commissioner.
for coming in and helping the city.
I love this city,
Builds more, yes,
as we all do.
yes, but they are all studios. I mean,
They are all
we're not
studios.
looking at families or,
Absolutely not. All studio apartments.
thank you.
Thank you very much. Commissioner LaCroix, do you have any questions?
Yeah, Jim, are they month-to-month leases? They have a lot of turnover?
I mean, we, as many landlords would tell you, they don't anticipate or want any turnover. We'd like a longer-term tenant. Primarily, there will be some year-to-year leases. There will be some tenancy at will agreements, which are run month to month. But our hope and our focus is for long-term tenants.
Yeah, yeah. Now, these are basically tenants that are not without vehicles, right, mostly, or?
We're
parking?
hoping. I mean, we've gotten a lot of applications from airline personnel and stuff like, and potential tenants like that. We've only had, I think, one tenant so far with a car who actually lives around the corner on Nahant. But so far, we've been pretty lucky.
So they're parking, street parking, more or less, is that what it is?
More or less, it's the T. I mean, the train is, we received over 200 applications in a couple of days. Mostly everyone is attracted to the T.
Yeah, yeah. All right. No, it looks nice. I've been by there. It looks really nice. Did a good job.
Thank you, Commissioner.
I have no more questions.
Any other questions? Okay, there are no other questions. Are there any proponents? Anybody like to speak on behalf of the project?
Commissioners, Ira Novoselsky, 53 D. Hone Street, Ward 2 Councilor. I come to speak in favor of this. Jamie has done a great job. The building before this was a total disaster, and the people that lived there weren't the greatest people in the world. But he made a huge effort to move those folks out, and he finally did. He does have a couple commercials downstairs, which he's done a great job renovating that, and the building looks great from the outside. It's great from the inside, and I think he's going to do well there, and I look forward to working with him further on it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councilor. Are there any other proponents? Anybody else like to speak on behalf of this? Hearing and seeing none, I will close that section of the meeting. Are there any opponents? Is anybody opposed? Hearing and seeing none, I will close that section of the meeting. Would someone like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second that motion, and again, excellent job fixing that area up. Thanks.
The motion to approve the application for a change of number of lodging house rooms is approved. The application for Shirley Investments, LLC, for a change of number of rooms to 17 is approved. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Item number 3, this is an application for a common victualers license. Marpash Group, DBA Piros Pesas, 321 Charger Street. Andres Yamarillo is the owner and manager. This is an application for a common victualers license for a stationary food truck. The application of Marpash Group, DBA Piros Pesas, for a common victualers license for a stationary food truck operation. The license is to be exercised at 321 Charger Street in the parking lot. Requested hours of operation are 6 p.m. until 1 a.m. Sunday through Saturday. And speaking on behalf of Marpash Group, your name and address for the record, please, sir.
is Andres Jaramillo.
Okay, and Mr. Amarillo, what are your plans for this location? What do you want to do here?
What I want,
Yes,
so I want work from this location. So 321 Charger Street.
right.
So I plan work from this location.
Okay, so you want to put a food truck at 321 Charger Street. Is that correct?
Yes,
Okay, and you want to leave it parked at that location? It's going to stay at 321 Charger Street, correct?
yes,
And your hours of operation, you want to open from 6 o'clock at night until 1 in the morning. Is that correct?
yes, it's correct.
And you want to keep it open Sunday through Saturday?
Yes, it's correct.
Very good. And can you tell us what kind of food you'll be serving and what do you plan on doing? Or are you going to have tables? Is it going to be walk up and walk away? How's the operation going to work?
No, it's just it's fast food and it's pick up. So I don't have tables. Just the people come to my truck and buy their food and that's it.
Okay, and I see that you have the liability insurance, you have all of your paperwork. Now, you understand that this is only for this location, correct?
Yes,
In other words, you can't go around other places, it's only for this location, 321 Charger Street.
yes. So don't move the truck. It's just location.
Very good. Do any of my fellow commissioners have any questions?
Yes, I have a couple of questions, and actually, I think he has an interpreter here that you can just give us her name. Are you speaking for him?
Sorry. I'm not speaking for him, but I'm here as a proponent.
As a proponent?
Yes.
Okay. I understand you're going to put the truck at the end of, it's 321 Charger Street. I've gone down there. As you know, it's a heavily, heavily populated area. Multifamily dwellings, a lot of children. To get there, we'd go down Charger Street, which would be either through Malden Street or Squire Road, and you would go to the rear of 321 down by the apartment houses. Am I correct?
If I can step in to answer that question, it's actually a parking lot of a commercial building for where Teamworks is actually currently housed. And so the abutting apartment buildings are not directly abutting the property. They're a distance apart. I think there might be a map in part of your application that shows the distance between the property, which are mostly all commercial, and then apartment buildings on Ward Street.
Right, the apartment buildings would be adjacent to BJ's, which you have down here on the thing. My concern is, I've gotten a couple of calls. I'm disappointed that no one's in the audience this evening, and they're concerned. You're looking for 1 o'clock license. Well, traffic is going to be going down all of Charger Street right to the back, which does go right by all those apartment houses, the kids' play yard and whatnot. Now, you're talking 1 o'clock. Someone's going to come at 1 o'clock. They're going to order a hot dog, I guess you're serving, and fast food. Now, what is going to happen with these people when they get their refreshments at 1 o'clock and they're in the car, okay? Are they going to be there with the cars running, the music going? It seems like, you know, this is new to the city, allowing this. Do you understand what I'm saying, sir? I don't know, she should be interpreting for him.
So on the map, again, so you don't have to go through any of the apartment complexes.
No, you don't. You have to get down Squire Road.
Down Squire Road and just go straight down Charger Street where the old DPW
Right.
yard is, yep.
Yes, Counselor, I knew that. You have to go by the apartment houses. I do go to the gym there, so we've got 2 gyms there, and that's where you're going to be. And it's highly residential, I will say that again. It is highly residential. I'm concerned with people coming there at 1 o'clock in the morning, having a sausage or hot dog. How long are they going to be sitting there? Okay, what kind of traffic is going to be there at night? This has happened throughout our cities, and it always seems like a great idea, which it is, I'm sure. But at 1 o'clock in the morning, we've got people coming from liquor establishments wanting something to eat, and I'm concerned about where they're going to go when they do sit and eat there. They're going to sit for at least a half hour. You're going to tell them to shut the cars off. You're going to tell them no music. You know, we've had this problem with the business that was there, that people were parking along the side, and they were complaining in the apartment houses about the noise that was going on there. They finally stopped all parking in that parking lot for that reason. So I'm just wondering, what control are you going to have with these people coming at 1 o'clock, and how long they're going to be there, and what's going to be going on? And we know a lot of cars, and in my area also, I'm near a restaurant, they like their music on, and they come with the music on, and they sit in the car and eat. So what's your
So
way of
maybe
handling
I
all of
understand.
this?
So in the truck, in these hours, like to 1 a.m., so usually we make the deliveries. So, and I sell food to some people that go to TeamWorks. So when the people find out the play, some people buy me. Don't use the music, so it's just cooking the food and that's it. The more sell is for deliveries. So a little people come to my truck in this location, but so around the truck, I don't have the buildings, nothing. So just the TeamWorks, and that's it. So I respond your question or no?
As I've said, we've seen this before. We can see Kelly's on the Beach that's open, and, you know, people come and they don't mean it, but they don't realize the music is heard all over. You've answered my questions. You're going to do a lot of takeout, but still the traffic has to come to pick up and deliver, okay? You're still going to have cars in and out of there. I still am very skeptical on that area and 1 o'clock. Most of our restaurants, their kitchens close at 10, 11 o'clock. So I'd like to hear what my colleagues have to say, but I still have a lot of questions on to how this would work out. And I'm just very disappointed for the calls that I've gotten. And they should really come, and, you know, that's when we can work together. If these opponents do show up and speak with you and see what you can both do to make this work. But I don't see any, at this point anyways, I haven't seen any opponents here to speak against it, and I'm disappointed in that, I have to say it. Okay, but I'd like to hear what my colleagues have to say.
Well, I'll jump in here. I'm a little confused. Well, first, there's an interpretation problem here. I don't really understand your rationale for having if correct me if I'm wrong, it looks like the truck is right across from the gym, correct? On those parking spots. I mean, right, almost like in front of the door.
Yes.
Okay, and they just built they're building a large, I think, storage facility right there. But there won't be people housed there. There'll be just, so the client base is Caruso Apartments, Is that the objective?
No, so Andreas's business, Barros Paisas, he advertised mostly through social media. So he does have a license to operate from the city of Boston, which he does at Maverick Tea Station, and he operates there during the daytime and up until 6 p.m. And so then he has a following, so people, what he serves is food that's typical in Colombia, and so his constituents or his customer base is really people who are seeking out this food, this comfort food from back in the country of Colombia. And a lot of the people who are going to Teamworks happen to be from Colombia. And so the clientele are the people actually going to the Teamworks facility, not necessarily the residents in the area.
And they're coming from all over, and the social media is bringing them there? Is that?
So with food trucks, since they are not in a permanent location, ways that they advertise to bring customers, and also if they have a following, is to let people know through social media where they're going to be located on a certain day, specific time, and people will come and buy the food and then, be on their way.
Yeah, because I mean, to me, at night, once the gym closes, I'm not sure what time it closes, it's pretty desolate out there. There isn't a lot of, people out at that area. I don't think it's well lit either. I'm not sure at night. So to open till 1 a.m. Is a safety concern.
Again, a lot of the clients that are coming to him are also working until those times, and by the time that they're coming home, they're also buying food on their way home.
Yeah.
So this is, again,
So why that location? I mean, why not another location that's not behind buildings, behind like I don't know, it's like a secluded area. There's nothing there. I mean, you're past the apartment buildings, you're in front of a closed health club. And at 6 o'clock, the health club's pretty busy, both of them. So there might be some significant parking issues there. Because that's where everyone parks, and it's busy. People go to the gym after work. So I'm not really understanding why that was that the only location available, or that you could think of?
So it's very difficult find other location. But for me, work, because a lot of people from Colombia work in the night. So when finish the work, call me and for food. So this is the principal reason for the hours and the location. So my food is really good. So sorry, but a lot of people know my food. So right now, a lot of people know me. And now my food, so a lot of people find me. So for the reason, the location no is really, so is very important. But right now my branding is positioned. So for this reason, the people find me, whatever location. So right now, this is the location available for me. So maybe in the future, so I will try work all night in front of the city hall, for example. So, but I need a way for more spot available. So and I want make all correct. You understand?
I don't, I just can't understand why that spot. And I understand it's away from the public and public's eye, and there won't be much traffic at night, late at night, Linda. After the gym closes, I don't think anyone drives down there. It's more of, I wouldn't do it, number one. I'd be concerned about, safety over there. I just don't understand the rationale over there versus, I'd rather see it be mobile, mobile. I mean, I think that makes more sense.
and
But-
so.
But that's just my opinion on a business perspective, but I don't know, Linda, Bob jump in.
No, I just had a couple of questions. How long have you had the truck in Boston? How long have you been operating?
So since April, that's last year,
1 year?
1 year.
1 year, okay. And as far as inspections on these, I don't know much about this, but inspections, health inspections, do you have to have that the same as every other restaurant? They come in and do an inspection?
Yes, all of the food trucks and any vehicle that's serving food, it has to go through a health inspection and also fire inspection.
So it's the same as any other restaurant. We do the same every year, the inspections on the truck and I do. I mean, I understand what you're saying, and you know, for you, you have a following, you're trying to build your following, and I do understand that, but it's just my concern, not you personally. My concern is just that we've done this throughout the city. We've tried things. We've had little restaurants, and they're just going to be quiet there. Next thing we know, you know, there's music cars sitting outside, and that's my concern. It's very hard to give a license and worry about what I'm doing to the immediate area. And I know the area very well, so it is residential. A lot of children, buses there all the time, you know, picking kids up for school and back and forth. And there's gonna be a lot of building there. But I understand where you're coming from, and, you know, I'm sure you do a great job, but again, I'm gonna turn it over to Commissioner Salovich.
Thank you, Commissioner. What would you think about a 12 o'clock license, a license till midnight, and then everybody would be off the premises by 1 o'clock?
So I try 1 o'clock because some people when they practice soccer or when the day people go to Teamworks, final your sports like to 1 a.m. Some days. So it's for the reason, but some days, so I close like to 12 and a half. So I try for 1 a.m. is basically for if some people come to later, but no is always. It's basically the reason. So obviously, my business work a lot for Facebook, for internet, for social media. So when I start the publisher for social media, maybe the more people come at 1 a.m. or before 1 a.m. You understand me?
And
Sorry
is this,
for my English.
are you going to be using the same food truck that you have in Boston? Are you going to be using that in Revere? Or are you going to have 2 food trucks?
No, I use one food truck.
One truck. So your hours in Boston are during the day?
Yes, usually I start in East Boston like to 3 p.m. At 6, 7 p.m. Some days I don't go to East Boston, so my plan is start to 6 p.m. In Revere. So because a lot of people from my country live here. And usually some days the other people go to East Boston. So 2 places is really good for me, but I try work here because a lot of people live here.
All right, very good. I don't have any other questions. Anybody else have any other questions? Okay, we'll close this section of the meeting. Thank you very much. Are there any proponents out there? Is there anybody who'd like to speak on behalf of this? Your name and address for the record, please.
Dimple Rana, Director of Healthy Community Initiatives for the City of Revere, and I also live in the city. My address is 49 South Ave. So I just wanted to help answer a couple of the other questions that came up in relation to what about other locations. So there is an ordinance that is being developed in the solicitor's office that will have designated locations identified in the city that would be a little bit more public, the hours, and things that would be regulated. So there would be a whole system created. And this is not necessarily part of that ordinance development. This is Andres and Beros Países, him on his own, finding a private property and location to vend at. But in overall, in terms of food truck development for the city, there will be an ordinance that will be presented in the next few months or so.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there any other proponents out there? Hearing and seeing none, I will close that part of the meeting. Are there any opponents? Is there anyone opposed? Hearing and seeing none, I will close that section of the meeting. Well, I mean, I understand your reservations, Commissioner. And I think that, you know, food trucks are definitely the wave of the future as far as restaurant businesses are concerned. And I think his location is such that he's away from most of the residences there. And his hours will be in the evening so that there won't be any interference with school buses or school kids or that kind of stuff. And I think that if he does a little bit of work with the neighbors, maybe a sign that says respect our neighbors, don't play your music, you know, I think the thing can be a good addition to the city. So I'm willing to make a motion to approve this. And that's it. So is there a second to approve this?
I would, this is something that, again, like I say, I wish I had someone here that would have expressed what their concerns were. I understand what you're trying to do. I think, you know, to say it's a thing of the future, I don't think so. I think maybe a thing of the future when we do it on the beach or we do it recreational areas. But, you know, I've gone through East Boston. I've seen these trucks all over the place, and I don't know if that's the route I want to take. My concern with this location, I think, is, for me, basically, before things, we can put things in order that we will allow these, that's probably a better location until we can find out what direction the city wants to go in. And there's a lot of development going on in the city, and it's in a positive direction, and that's where I'd like to see the city go. But you're talking 6 to 1 o'clock, and as my colleague said, the children should be in at those hours. Of course, in the summer they're not. We have the playground that's right on Charger Street, 2 blocks from where you're going to be. So in the summer the kids will be out there, and they do use that. Many kids are there. So I would go along with this, but again, on a common victual license, there is any time that the board feels that we have to roll back the hours or maybe pull that license back, we can do that. So reluctantly, I have to say, you know, I'm happy for you, but I'm going to go along with this. I'm going to second the motion kind of on a trial basis for me, because I would ask that my colleagues would call you back should it happen that we've had happen in other parts of the city. We have some councils here that I think can back that up, and we've had a hard time closing them down because we, again, think it's a good idea when you come here, and somehow it doesn't stay that way. So you're going to have a lot of work to do from 6 to 1, because as far as the music or anything like that gets out of hand, or your customers are gonna sit in the car and wanna eat like they do elsewhere in the city, you know, on takeout. I think we had a big problem with Papagenos. They finally closed, and they were abutting the same area you are. And the speakers, the people putting in orders on the speakers, they could hear it in the apartment houses. So we had to stop their takeout. So with all that being said, I'm going to second the motion, and for me, this will be a trial to see how it works out. So I will second the motion.
Very good. Do you want to say anything on behalf of this council, Commissioner?
You know, I'm trying to think like a millennial here, and I'm trying to think, this is, if this is the future, I really don't know. But it may be, because I know they do it in Cambridge and Somerville and East Boston and blah, blah, blah. So I almost want to say, you know, maybe a counter motion, and maybe till, my colleague wants to, potentially a counter motion to maybe a little earlier to see how that goes. Maybe 11 p.m., max 12. I think 1 is late. I understand you do have a client base after that, but that's the way it goes. I'd be okay maybe starting off at 11 p.m., 6 to 11 p.m. 1 o'clock, I think we should wait and see how, you know, because, you know, they're going to go there, they're going to eat, they're going to throw their wrappers out. There's nothing you can do about some of the, you know, some things are out of people's control. Regardless how good of a tenant you're going to be, there's things that are going to be out of your control. And we didn't even really ask Lieutenant Randall if there's any concern on their end, because it is kind of a warded off area that isn't in the public eye. Do you have any feedback? I'd like to hear yours.
Yeah, I think the police department would have concerns similar to the commissioners as far as people hanging out there late at night eating, you know, because if they get their food at 1 o'clock in the morning, how late are they going to stay there? How many people are going to be there? Are they going to be there in their cars running? Is it going to disturb the neighbors? Can they hear from that distance? I mean, I think there's a lot of questions, and the police department would definitely have some concerns as far as that.
So if it was, I had my druthers, and I'm just one vote of 3, I'd like to do a trial till 11 p.m. And then if things are going okay, then you come back and ask for extended hours. And there's extended hours maybe just on the weekends, because I think 1 o'clock during the week is probably, you know, not to my liking anyway. And again, I'm one of 3, so that's where I stand on that. And but if you're going to approve to 1 a.m., I'm gonna stand as not approving it on my end. If you too, I want to be noted as I'm not approving that.
So you're opposed to a 1 o'clock closing?
Correct.
Very good. We have a motion. The motion was seconded. The application is going to be approved.
I don't think we have a second on that motion.
I had put the motion in, you seconded it, and then we had, if you'd like to act on the substitute motion?
We've already approved it. I didn't realize we had approved it. You had made the motion. I thought I made the motion. Now, I have concern. I do feel bad for this man. He wants to put the business, you know, get the business going.
I would say if there are problems, we come back and then we roll them back. But I mean, in the absence of any problems, I think we should give them the license. Let's see what happens. If there are problems, we bring them back and we address the issues. If there are no issues, the gentleman goes about his business and the city's better off because we have another good food place to eat at. That would be my feeling on it.
Yeah.
And that's why I put the motion in, and I thought that's why you seconded it.
Okay, I didn't realize I seconded, so we'll stay with the
Yeah.
vote that was taken. But I do agree with Commissioner LaCroix that, you know, we should look at this again, and any problems that the hours should be rolled back, because I do have the concern, as Commissioner LaCroix does. But since I've already seconded that motion, I didn't realize I was voting on that.
Yeah.
But I'm going to have to stay with my vote. But hopefully, we've heard from the police department. I think you're going to have some problems there, not because of you. I think your clientele, they're always looking for a place to go that's open late. So you're going to have your work cut out. So I guess it was approved. Good luck.
Just one last question for Lieutenant Randall. Is that location visited often by, as of today, by the police department?
Well, I mean, you know, obviously any calls for service, but as far as routine, routine patrols, everything will have to be stepped up now, because
Okay.
another concern that the department would have is a restaurant has a limited number of seating, so there's a limited number of people who can be there. This would basically have no limit of the number of
Correct.
people that could be there at any given time.
Yeah. No.
So it's an area that's gonna have to be watched closely.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Lieutenant. The application for a common victualer's license for a stationary food truck is approved. The application for Mapash Group, DBA Piros Pesas, for a common victualer's license for a stationary food truck operation to be exercised at 321 Charger Street in the parking lot. The requested hours of operation are 6 p.m. till 1 a.m., Sunday through Saturday. Thank you very much, sir. Item number 4, Coco's Corporation, DBA Las Vegas Restaurant and Bar, 124 Centennial Ave. Raul Santos, the manager. This is an application for transfer of an all-alcohol restaurant license. The application of Coco's Corporation, DBA Las Vegas Restaurant and Bar, for transfer of an all-alcohol restaurant license from Cinco de Mayo 2, said license to be exercised at 124 Centennial Avenue. The requested hours of operation to remain as it is presently, Monday through Thursday, 4 p.m. until 2 a.m., Friday, Sunday, 12 p.m. until 2 a.m. The requested seating is to remain at 125. Speaking on behalf of Coco's Corporation, your name and address for the record, please, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioners, Joseph Catogio, 1 Sprague Street, Revere, Massachusetts, representing the applicants, Coco's Corporation. Our application, let me say initially that our application admittedly is incomplete. We've submitted all of the documentation, finance documents, application documents that are required by the city, but there are 2 tax documents that our seller needs to provide in order for the city to give a formal approval and have it go forward to the ABCC. We have not been able to obtain those yet from the seller. The seller is represented by attorney Javier Pico in Malden. I've been in constant contact with him through the process. He advises me that the seller is ill. He is in Mexico and is more or less seriously ill in Mexico. He has family members here that are trying to take care of and obtaining the 2 tax waivers that are needed. So we would like to go forward on the condition that we present those before, obviously, any formal approval or submission to the ABCC. We would leave that to your discretion. All other documentation is there, the information on the applicants themselves. Most of the information, as indicated by the commissioner, the chairman rather, that everything is to pretty much stay the same. Capacity, hours, the situation of it being a restaurant, although my clients are hoping and intending to make it more of a family establishment as opposed to the current nightclub feel of the restaurant. There are presently 2 pool tables that are there. We did not seek to transfer the license for the 2 pool tables. My clients intend to have those removed and just make it, although not increase the seating capacity, make it a little more comfortable, more of a, like I said, a restaurant feel. They do all operate another restaurant and have another liquor license that you can look at to see, their experience and their clientele. The application for the transfer also comes with an acknowledgement that we are purchasing the building along with the restaurant business. So we are clients are making a large financial contribution into this business. They're looking to expand their current location. They'll be keeping the same menu. I can leave this with you to have an idea of what, what kind of food they'll be serving, what kind of atmosphere there'll be. Again, with regard to the two documentations, we were expecting those. I have an understanding that one is in and one is pending, but I can get those to you if you wish to either continue this hearing or if you would be gracious enough to approve on the condition that we submit it, and then it can, as a package, go to the ABCC. I've been in the building. We've submitted plans that, again, more or less stay the same. The kitchen is in very good shape. I don't think there is any issue with Board of Health. We would obviously be going through inspections with all of the departments that are required before we were to open after the purchase. We're here to answer any questions that you might have and or any other discussion you wish on it. Thank you. Yes?
Who are we waiting for the documents? Who's holding up the documents?
The application require, the borrower, the first two items on there are required by the seller.
Okay.
The seller, we submitted the purchase and sale agreement, so you see who the parties are on both the business and the building. The gentleman who runs that corporation, the seller corporation, is ill. He's in Mexico. He's been there for a while, so there's been some communication breakdown between the attorney in Malden and Mexico and back to the family members here. I believe the DOR tax waiver has been obtained, and the other document is pending. I'm trying to get copies of even the application or any information on it to bring to this commission.
So excuse me, so with this transfer going through, does this have any bearing on the passing of the papers for the business?
On the passing of the papers and the submission, the commission, just as the buyers, want to make sure that all the taxes that are due from the current owner are paid and up to date before the license is transferred. They wouldn't want to be us giving the sellers money on either the business or the building and have taxes not be paid. So this is to show that all state DOR taxes are paid and up to date, and any corporate taxes, employment tax, anything like that are all paid and up to date from the seller, so that it would be a clean transfer. The city would want to know that as well, and that's why it's part of the application. As far as our application or our portions of it, I believe it's complete, and we've provided all the information to you.
Yes, I just went over that. Those are the only two items missing.
That's,
the
yes,
two documents, that's it. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Commissioner LaCroix, do you have any questions?
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out, Joe, so this is on Centennial Ave, right?
Right at the bottom, right before the rise to the beach and the one-horse square and the
Okay.
law office that's there.
So
It's kind of underneath it.
They look like they started additional construction. I mean, is it, well, that might be an old picture.
Yeah,
It's
there
an
were some
operation now.
renovations done, but nothing,
Okay, okay.
nothing for this sale and nothing pending as far as I know.
Okay. 'Cause, so right now, it's basically a change of, transfer.
Yeah, and a little change in the style, but not much. Like I said, more family-oriented and than nightclubish. The pool tables, there's an extended bar
Yeah.
that won't be changing, but the pool tables next to the bar really give it kind of a nightclub feel to it.
So the concern here is that the current owner of the license isn't available.
Right.
And these people, there's no way to get that person here.
Well, yeah, not to bring him here presently, but like I said, he is represented. I've worked with this attorney many times. I'm no doubt that he's doing everything to get what is needed, and we know that it's needed before anything can go forward.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't have any more questions.
Very good, sir. Does anybody else have any other questions? No. Hearing and seeing none, I'll close that section of the meeting. Are there any proponents out there? Is there anybody that would like to speak on behalf of this project?
Good morning, members. Ira Novoselsky, 53 Dehone Street, Ward 2 Councilor. I happen to live on the other side of North Shore Road from this facility. Over the last few years, we haven't had any problems at that location with the current business ongoing that I know of. at the beginning, we did have several issues. But I just want, I did speak to the proponent, the applicant prior to this meeting, and I told him my concerns where he owns Las Vegas on Shirley Avenue. And we have been having problems over there, a lot of complaints from the neighbors when they close. You know, mostly it's from 1:30 till 2:15, 2:30 when they come out, and some of them are drunk and they're screaming, and at 2 o'clock in the morning, the noise flies around. But I told him that I will not put up with something like that down at this location. It's more residential. But, you know, I'm willing to, you know, be open to it right now. But, and he says that they're going to be changing it to a family restaurant style rather than the nightclub style. And the nightclub was only open, I think, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday nights. So, but, you know, I will keep an eye on it, you know, as I hope you will, and the police, once they do get going, and make sure that we have a quiet residential neighborhood that they can sleep and not be woken up by screaming. So, but I'm for it for now, and we'll just keep an eye on it. So, thank you.
Thank you very much, Counselor. Are there any other proponents out there? Anybody else want to speak on behalf of this? Your name and address for the record, please.
Madeline Rodriguez. I live at 532 Washington Ave. I'm here to represent my father. My father is the owner of Cinco de Mayo. He is ill right now, and he is in Mexico. He's actually getting treated right now. This is why we're actually selling the business, because me and him just can't do it anymore. I have to take care of my son that has gotten very sick, and my father it's time that we just want to retire, and we're just trying to sell this off. And the issue with the taxes, we are trying to get that worked out. There is an issue from the old business that we had in Chelsea that they're saying we've never closed it down, but it's something that we're getting fixed right now. Everything is going through processing. But I'm here to represent my father. You're welcome.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Are there any other proponents? Hearing and seeing none, I will close that section of the meeting. Are there any opponents? Anybody opposed to this project? Hearing and seeing none, I will close that section of the meeting.
Commissioners?
Would you like to?
Yes. Those are the new owners that are with you, Council.
Yes, my clients are here with me, Raul and
They are.
Elisa. Do you have questions
And
for them?
you've said that they have prior experience in the restaurant business?
Current, yes. They operate Las Vegas on Shirley Ave. They have a place in Lynn, so they're knowledgeable, experienced, and I would say an asset to the new location.
So this is a second liquor license, all alcoholic beverage liquor license for this same party?
Yes.
Is that what you're saying? Oh,
Yes. Close in proximity, they'll be able to manage both. I went over that with them, discussed it at length about, you know, the requirements that the commission would have to make sure that they are on location, you know, and present when needed, and so they understand the obligations.
Okay. I know Councilor Novoselsky spoke on the which was a nightclub. And I know he watches his neighborhood very closely. So where that license is, if it were a new license, I probably wouldn't approve it because it is highly residential. And I think the councilor is aware of that. So again, if this were to be transferred, I would ask that all eyes are on this business because we've had problems in the past. And as far as getting rid of pool tables, that's a wonderful sign. Because, you know, it first of all came when we gave that license, was supposed to be a restaurant license. Then they apply for pool tables, and that's what I mean about applications that come before us. We have to use a little hindsight as to where it may go. And giving those pool table licenses, I don't think was, on my behalf, a good vote.
And we did speak, the Councilor Novoselsky and I, we'd have no problem working with clientele to make sure they understand they're in a residential area. We could put signs up, just as was indicated earlier, respect our neighbors, you know, so that people exiting can see that and hopefully adhere to it, and we'll do what we can to make sure we're a good neighbor.
Well, the good part about that area, I noticed they have put some public parking there, which they didn't have before. So now we have, I think, several new spots of parking right on that island there, I think. So, again, I hope the council, which I know he will, Mr. Ward, too, does take care of his area very well, and he will keep us informed. So, I'll hear from my colleagues if
Yeah, so
questions.
so were the abutting neighbors for this transfer updated, or do they need to be updated? It was advertised. There was no issues or anything brought up to your...
I know I didn't receive any complaints or calls on it.
All right. Lieutenant Randall, in that area, have you, in the past couple of years, has it been an area where there's a concern that you had to visit and...
Yeah, it's a bar that closes at 2 o'clock in the morning, and it has the issues that every bar that closes at that time has. We've been there, we're there on a fairly regular basis, you know, disturbance calls, noise, you know, minor assaults, domestics. It's, you know, the same, the type of calls we'd expect from that type of a venue.
But nothing extreme or over the top versus, you know...
No, we haven't had anything, you know, any
Okay.
shootings, stabbings, anything
Shooting,
like that.
stabbings. Okay. Yeah, because that's one thing I always defer to the local police, because it's them that's on the line here. You know, we go home and do our thing, but they have to visit these places when they're, so they're, you know, I know they have another location close by, and so they're aware of disruptions, and sometimes there's
Yeah,
things.
none of those concerns are good for business at all. So we would work to limit as much as possible. We know things are inevitable given alcohol, but we would work to, you know, benefit everybody to have a good business and, again, be a good neighbor.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, Counselor. We'll close that section of the meeting. Is there a motion?
Yeah. I'm going to make a motion. I think it's a good thing that we're having a change there. I know Lieutenant Randall has been at that location many times, so I see this as a good thing going forward if we have people coming in that do want to run a restaurant. And are they still applying for a 2 o'clock license, though? They still want the 2 o'clock. Is that what we have here?
Yeah, we were going to do it as no change as far
No
as
change.
seating capacity. Again, once we get in and the pool tables are out, we may decrease the number of seats just for comfort's sake, but the hours we would look to keep the same.
Keep the same?
Yeah.
Okay, at that point, unless Counselor is...
Thank you. Do have a question. Was their current license all week, or just, it was every day till 2 in the morning? 7 days a week? Oh, okay, thank you.
They're all issued that way, actually.
Is that a concern?
Well, it kind of is on, you know, during the week, having a place open till 2 o'clock in the morning when people have to get up for work, you know, and I didn't mind weekends, and I was confused because the current location was really only open Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So that Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, they were totally closed, if I'm correct. And I do have a problem, and I do with almost any place in a residential neighborhood during the week to be open till 2 in the morning. So, you know, I understand on the weekends, Friday night, Saturday night, questionable Sunday night, but, you know, one night getting up after a football game, you know, may be tough anyways, but, you know.
No, it's absolutely something to be...
Just something to think about,
to
you
address,
know,
yeah.
and again, keep an eye on it, so.
Well, the current license is Monday through Sunday. So it is, it
Okay.
has been
Okay.
a 7-day.
Just something again, we want to keep an eye on and, see what kind of
So-
issues we may have.
So let me ask the council, can you ask them, do they anticipate keeping the kitchen open till 2? Or what's the game plan there?
Again, the business, the clientele would pretty much dictate the business. Every full liquor license is Monday to Sunday, is my understanding, but it doesn't necessarily mean that each restaurant is open for those days. Most are closed Mondays, Tuesdays. That may be the case here, but it depends on, the demand for business and the clientele. Although the license would be till 2 a.m., they may close, certain days earlier if nobody's there. And for the people that do come, if we are open that late, we would hope to take care of them and control the situation. And if there is a problem, address it before it has to be addressed outside by any commission or department.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you very
Okay.
much, gentlemen.
Good point, though. Excellent point.
Okay.
Okay,
Would
Are
you
you
like to
speaking?
make a motion?
I was going to make a motion. Is everybody done talking? Do you have, oh,
It's on you.
okay. I was going to make a motion. I would make a motion to approve this license contingent on receiving these 2 documents, okay? Only for the fact that I know you're trying to pass papers, and this would mean a lot in the sale of the,
Totally
building.
acceptable, and we can't do anything without them as well, so that's absolutely
Right.
acceptable.
but again, this license does say 2 o'clock, and I would, I think as my colleagues feel that we will keep an eye on those hours during the week, that obviously they're coming in, they have another liquor license, they know we're out there. Lieutenant Randall will make sure that we keep it quiet in that area for the neighbors. And so at that point, I'll make a motion to approve.
Is there a second? I will second that motion. The application for Coco Corporation, DBA Las Vegas Restaurant and Bar, for a transfer of an all-alcohol restaurant license from Cinco de Mayo 2 is approved. Said license to be exercised at 124 Centennial Avenue. The requested hours of operation are to remain as they are presently, which is Monday through Thursday, 4 p.m. until 2 a.m., Friday through Sunday, 12 p.m. until 2 a.m. The requested seating is to remain at 125. Thank you very much.
Good luck.
That concludes the applications. The next item on the agenda is a hearing. This is Wonderland Entertainment, LLC, DBA Oceanside Event Center, 1290 North Shore Road. Charles Del Pidio is the manager. This is a hearing into possible violation regarding incidents requiring police intervention. Is there someone here on behalf of Wonderland Entertainment, LLC? Name and address for the record, please, sir.
Charles Del Pidio, 28 Cornerstone Drive, northeastern Massachusetts.
Thank you very much, sir. We have some incidents that have occurred at the location, and we wanted to address these because it seems as if things were spiraling a little bit here and getting somewhat out of control. Can you explain to me what went on over the Thanksgiving weekend at the venue?
First of all, I'd like to thank the board for allowing me to have the extension to come here. You better talk a little bit for me. And we've gone through a bunch of changes to make things better. And I believe I've been in front of this board before and saying that things will never be perfect, but we need to do it to the best of the ability for the city and for our patrons. We're working with the Revere Police Department on how to exit people much better. Before, we were having people go out the front, and it seemed like that's where all the problems were. We have 4 big doors on the sides, and we are exiting them all out the sides now. But the one thing that we're doing now different, sorry for my voice, is that our liquor license goes to 1:30. I'm stopping liquor drinking at 1:15, okay? The bar lights go on, part of the house lights go on. The music still plays, because what I want to do at that time is have people gravity feed out the doors. Once they know that it's just about over, if we can lose a couple hundred people at that time. Right now is a tough time with the coat check. Coat check is always a problem, and it always delays everything that we do. I know the board was interested in security, and we have shirts now for every staff member that's on, so everybody will know who security is. Everybody has a radio, everybody has an earpiece, everybody has a flashlight on them. The weekly meetings, I've had 2 already, and our manager here, Taras,
Rebick.
he has meetings weekly with all the staff. I've been out for a while, and I'm probably going to be out for a while. We increased the number of security that we have in the club.
What is that number, sir?
Taras?
Depending on the event, if we're open in, let's say, the ballroom, we have a large event, minimal is 20. If we're opening the whole building, like we were on New Year's Eve, I believe I had 30 on that night. If it's just a smaller room, it could be 8 to 10, depending on the size of the event, where the event is being held. We have 3 rooms in the building.
And New Year's Eve went as smooth as could be with the changes that we've made. But I really, in Boston, I have also a place in Boston, and I do this in Boston all the time. I've been doing this for 37 years. And what you really need to do in a nightclub is to gravity feed people out on their own. Once you start asking people to leave, things change. But if you could do it this way, it's so much nicer. I know we've been very fortunate with having Officer Doug over here, because he's been helping us in every way he can. As far as, guys, let me give you a few pointers on what I think we should do, what you guys should do. And, you know, I'm open to anybody that has a great idea, especially the Revere Police Department. I know last time I was here, we talked about we're starting to do different things. We have a cabaret coming in. I just booked our first wedding down there. And it's not easy, by no means, but we're trying to cross the street and trying to cross that avenue to get into many other things besides everything that's been going on for years down there. But it's not easy, but we're trying. Trust, you can speak now. I don't have no more voice.
All right, very good. Do any of my fellow commissioners have any questions?
Well, I would like to hear the police here as witnesses.
Very good.
I'd like to hear what they have to say before I make any comments.
Can I get a drink of water?
Sure. We have water. Is there water in there?
Officer Zengali, would you like to come up and speak on this matter?
How you doing? Good afternoon. Nice to see you again.
Nice to see you as well.
Long time no see. What can I answer for you, Commissioners?
Just a little. I get more concerned when an incident happens at an establishment, which we know is going to happen, how they help in the situation, and are they Have they got your back when you're there and helping you along when
The
there's a
security
problem?
personnel.
Yes.
Yeah, we've had incidents in the past, as you're gonna have with any establishment. We've addressed any assistance or non-assistance by the security, and they've always been receptive to taking our advice. I've been working barroom details since I came on this job in 1997. I'm usually at this club every weekend for the last 10 years. So I have a good, close relationship with Taras, and everything that we've suggested, especially after this week, that Thanksgiving week, has been corrected. And since that time, there haven't been any incidents, whether call for assistance, arrests, assaults, or anything, for 2 months. So I think they took the step forward and took it seriously, and they've implemented numerous changes, and it's worked out fine.
That's my main concern, is how helpful they are in a problem like that, and they do ask for the assistance. When there is a problem, they do ask if they have help there.
Absolutely. In fact, they have a security manager, of course, but when different clubs are running, obviously you have to go from upstairs to downstairs and stuff like that. But they've assigned someone specifically for us that is in contact with the supervisors at all times. So if they need us in a specific spot, whether it's outside, upstairs, or in the back, they come and get us directly through the radio with the guy that's right near us that works for them in their security.
So you're saying since November, they've kind of tightened up and are going in the right direction?
Huge.
Since Thanksgiving?
Since this night in question, there hasn't been one incident whatsoever.
Okay, thank you.
Do you feel like the security is trained properly? Is this in-house security or is this contracted security? Do you know?
I believe they do both, but mostly it's in-house security that they hire themselves. Most of the people that have worked there for years. I think considering the clientele that they get, which the background on this establishment is obviously they rent out to promoters. So on a Friday night, you might have a Colombian show, on a Saturday night, a Haitian show, and on Sunday, you might have something completely different. Obviously, the staff is dealing with different types of people from different countries with different languages. English is not naturally their first language most of the time. I think with that, they work great over there. Yeah.
That's good to hear.
You know, when we first came, we talked about different groups that were gonna come in. And I know there's a lot of events that I won't take. I let a lot of events go by if I think that it's not something that we can handle. And there are events that come, and if I don't like it, we won't take it. So, you know, we are looking out for ourselves, Revere, and our staff as well.
Does the other officer have anything to say?
Thank you. Officer, would you like to step to the podium, please?
Hello, how are you guys?
And
Excuse me?
name and address for the record, please.
Christina Cavagnaro, 296 Lincoln Street.
I just wanted to, I brought in Officer Cavanaro to, just to give a summary of what happened on that particular night, because she was
Yes.
one of the arresting officers.
Very good.
So that night, Thanksgiving Eve and Thanksgiving, as you know, the weather was very cold. I think it was about 9 degrees that night. Usually the detail officers there do a great job. They only call us over if something serious is going on and they need extra assistance. But other than that, they usually handle things on their own pretty well. That night, it was a very big crowd. A lot of people in the main entrance near the Wonderland Tea. And I think the cold was stopping people were trying to get in, but they had to leave at the same time, and no one wanted to wait outside for their Ubers or their taxis, and it was causing disturbances, like people pushing people and stuff like that, and no one was really listening to officers' commands to leave. That was mostly the issue with both nights there, and people just being intoxicated and being rowdy and stuff like that. So that's when usually sector cars get called there, when it's like crowd control and they need help with exiting customers. But like Detective Zingali said, ever since that night, there really hasn't been an issue. I know that they changed the exit to the side, to the parking lot side, which really helps people just go straight to their cars and exit. And that's usually my sector since August. So even New Year's Eve, not one call there. So it's been a very big improvement, in my opinion.
From your perspective, is over-service a problem there?
I don't think so. Most people I ask how much they had to drink, they say they don't drink a lot. So, I mean, in my opinion, it's just like any other establishment in the state, you know, if that's people's choices. And I don't know what people consume before they go, you know, so.
Okay, and as far as the way that the security and the staff deals with females, are there enough female security people? Is that an issue?
I mean, in my opinion, I know they have female security. Sometimes females can be a little feisty, but I think...
We have 3 on right now.
Very good, thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, I think they do a good job at dealing with all kinds of people. What I was gonna say. But ever since those nights, I think it was like a wake-up call. So they've made...
Would you have any issues going back to work there or going to work there if you were doing a detail, or are you comfortable that the security there and the way the thing is being handled is adequate?
Since then, it's been very adequate. I mean, usually we would have like roll call meetings when say like, hey, there's a big event going on at Lido, just be in the area around 2 o'clock when the customers exit. We haven't even really been talking about that anymore. So it's pretty positive. Even to assist with traffic, the traffic has been just leaving there, so we don't even have to go there to assist with traffic.
Very good, thank you. Do you have any questions, Commissioner?
Yeah, thank you, Officer. Mr. Del Pidio, real quick, since 2013, how many events have you had at the Wonderland?
I don't know.
Approximately, hundreds or?
Hundreds.
Yeah, hundreds.
Okay, so it's been pretty, so this was kind of a one-off or two-off for the most part. So
It's one of the toughest nights there is in all the year
So-
in nightclubs.
So maybe you were getting a little lax because nothing seems to have happened in the last 5 years. And this erupted and it seems like you put some
I don't know
extra
about relaxed, maybe caught off guard.
correct. Whatever, it seems like just, so it looks like whatever needed to be done, you made some adjustments and
You know,
seems to,
and we will keep on making adjustments.
okay,
It isn't just because of this one thing.
correct.
Every week is a different story in this
Yeah.
business, and you have to look at it every week. When I come in on Tuesdays every week, we sit down, we talk about the whole weekend and try to figure out what we can do to make it
Yeah,
better.
yeah.
But it's not easy.
No, it's not, that's a challenge to say the least. And Lieutenant Randall and all the other, Revere Police, that's where I always defer to. And if they feel it's unsafe, then, and they let us know, then we'll come down very hard on the ownership and to stop these. But it sounds like you're getting your act in order. Things are moving in the right direction. Whatever you did, whether the phase-out approach of getting them out there and not pushing them out there on their own was part of it, or it's been maybe a quiet 2 months, who knows? Proof will be in the pudding, but hopefully it continues in this direction. I don't see us, from my perspective, to make any type of punishable.
I will say to the board that we will continue to work our hardest and to make sure it's done correctly.
Yeah.
But I'll always say that there'll always be something in this business.
Yeah, and I think that's understood when you have such a large number of people in one event. So, but it seems like from everybody I'm hearing, things are moving forward. So I commend you for that. All right.
Thank you.
That's all I got to say.
Counselor, would you like to speak on behalf of, or would you like to speak about this issue?
Is he a proponent or opponent?
Well, it's a hearing.
He's gonna kick me.
Yeah, my name is John Powers. I represent the area as a city councilor. they've been there now for, I don't know, 14 years, I believe, and I think they should have their show in order. There shouldn't be these type of problems down there. My understanding is that on that particular night, there were 8 police officers from the city of Revere involved that had to be called in one way or another. There were Winthrop, there were state, and also MBTA police officers. And my concern is that when you have to bring 8 police officers in to a facility like that for a problem, you're compromising the public safety of the residents of this city. You're depriving them of adequate police protection, I think, when you have 8 officers at a location like that. And that's not a good thing. I'd like to ask Mr. Del Pito, how many security officers does he have down there, and is that a condition of the license?
We have 2 details and 1 fireman.
And I know you have a fireman, and I know you have the 2 detail officers, but how many private security people do you have there?
On a big night, 30.
Say 25 to 30 on a big, large scale event, yes.
How many were there that night?
25.
25, and we still had to call in state and MBTA?
If we look, how many times did this happen? Once.
It shouldn't happen at all.
Well, unfortunately.
You know, you turn on the TV at night and you see a complete disregard for police officers being shot in the face, being shot, this and that and the other thing on traffic stops. I would think that on any given night, they would have to have a certain amount of security down there, and those security officers should be, have to identify themselves and make sure that the detail officers know that they are there and know how many are there, and make sure that the complement required is there to protect the people in that place and the residents of the city.
I think you're absolutely correct, and I believe that they should know. I think that's the problem that they're solving. They're going to make them all wear shirts with big security in the back so they can be identified.
No,
And I do like that move very much, because I agree with you that we should know who security is in the building and see them walking around. So I do agree with that, but I guess that's the way they're going to handle that, is to identify it on their shirts.
And that's a positive thing, because that does happen in other establishments, throughout the
Absolutely.
Commonwealth.
Absolutely.
So I would just hope that this board will send a strong message to Mr. Del Pito and company that this will not be tolerated in the future.
Okay.
Thank you.
These are our shirts.
Yeah.
So everybody that's in the club has an earphone, has a flashlight, and everybody has communication with everybody throughout the whole club.
Okay. Well, I just hope that this won't happen again.
You and me
It's
both.
it's up to yourself to make sure it doesn't. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, gentlemen, thank you. Is there anybody else that would like to speak on behalf about this issue? I don't hear or see anybody, so we will close that section. I am satisfied that the police officers are satisfied that what's being done there seems to be addressing the situation. And so I would not have a problem with putting this on file for a period of time, and then we can readdress it, sometime later.
I agree, it should be put on file for, I'm looking at, you've already gone through 3 months on file, so maybe we can place this on file for the next 3 months, barring no more incidents, and then it can be removed, and should there be an incident, this would come up again. We would bring this, and that would be part of that hearing of it happening again. But I have to say, I'm very pleased with listening to the police officers. I come in here thinking that maybe we need some time to set back, roll our hours back, and think of what you want to do. But everything I have written down here, it seems like you've already put in place. And of course, the police department is a big part of my vote. knowing that they feel safe and it was an isolated incident. And Thanksgiving, I don't know how many bars want to be open on Thanksgiving. It seems to be rowdier than New Year's, and I've never understood that, but a lot of people I talk to, it's the night before New Year's, they're all going out. So,
Microphone, please, sir.
so I know they're waiting, another meeting has been, we've kind of gone over our time. So
Sorry.
if there's no other questions, sorry about that, guys. If there's no other comments or anything, I would make a motion to place this on file for 3 months. And any incidents happen in that time, we would bring this up again. And if not, we will cancel this.
Thank you. We have a cabaret coming up, by the way, and we'd like to invite all of yous to come so you can maybe come in and see us and see what we're doing down there and just get a little bit of idea.
Well, having been in the business for a while, I know that the coat check is really the issue in the wintertime.
It's terrible.
And it creates all kinds of bottlenecks and problems and everything else. So if you can work out that issue, that seems to be the big sticking point in a lot of these places is the coat check.
Like the other officer said, everybody was going through those front doors and people didn't want to go out because of the cold and then back. Now the side door's open and everybody has to go out. So, trial and error, and we will make sure that we do the best we can, and I will promise that.
All right, very good, sir. Well, I'll second the motion, unless you'd like to speak.
No, that's it. I will close that as I agree with my colleagues.
Very good. So we'll put this on file for 3 months. We'll say that if some incidents do happen, we will have you back here, and we'll be discussing rollbacks and other mediation on how to fix this thing. But it seems, based on the word of the police officers and your own assertions about what you've done, that you've addressed this issue to my satisfaction, and obviously to the other commissioners as well.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for your
All right,
time.
and best of luck.
We will close that section of the hearing. The next item is 2 withdrawn applications. Tripoli LLC at 1064 North Shore Road has withdrawn the application for a lodging house license. And Dehon LLC, 1719 Dehon Street, also withdrew its application for a lodging house license. The final items on the agenda is a communication. This is a notice from the Massachusetts Alcohol Beverage Control Commission to the Revere Lodge Loyal Order of Moose number 1272 to determine if they've violated Massachusetts laws and regulations dictating that all lottery tickets and proceeds from the sale thereof must remain the property of the lottery, and that proceeds from such sales must be deposited into a trust account. The hearing date for this matter would be March 26th of 2019 at 11 a.m. That finishes the communications. The next item, license renewals. We have a long list of them, and if you would like to see the licenses that are being renewed, go on the website and you'll see them all. We're renewing entertainment licenses, common victualers licenses. The only addition would be Easy Pie, which was granted a 30-day license last month. They have since met their requirements, and they'll be approved for an all-alcohol license. A malt and wine license, hotel, parking lots, Class 2 motor vehicle dealers, Class 1 vehicle dealers, and the lodging houses. However, there is an issue with the Capic Real Estate, Inc. at 72 Dehon Street. They have had safety violations which they have failed to address. Therefore, I would make a motion that we grant them a temporary 30-day license, give them an opportunity to fix the violations before we deny the license.
Is that in form of a motion?
Yes, that would be in the form of a motion.
Okay.
I'll second that motion.
Very good. That motion is approved. That concludes today's agenda. The next meeting, February 20th. I would make a motion to adjourn until February 20th of 2019.
I'll second the motion.
This meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Sorry to the zoning board.
All done.
I didn't realize that
Test. Test 1, 2. The meeting of the Zoning Board of Appeals will now come to order. May we rise to salute the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Roll call, Mr. Bacilli. Mr. D'Angelo. Mr. Lopes. Mr. Mazzoni. Mr. Pelton. Mr. Tucker.
Present.
Quorum is present. First matter before the board is application A-1901, which is a special permit application of 100 Lancaster Avenue LLC, 10 Roseclear Street, Boston, requesting a special permit pursuant to Title 17, 1740, Section 1740, 040 of the revised ordinance of the City of Revere, to enable the appellant to further alter and extend a nonconforming structure at 94 Lancaster Avenue at the intersection of Rice Avenue by constructing a 4-foot by 22-foot second-story addition on the Rice Avenue side of the existing dwelling, and a second-story exterior deck, 6 feet 3 inches by 42 feet, on the Lancaster Avenue side of the structure, and a 5-foot 5-inch by 30-foot second-story exterior deck on the Rice Avenue side of the existing dwelling, and a 6-foot 3-inch by 22-foot 6-inch exterior deck on the first story on the Lancaster side of the structure.
Could the applicant step up to the microphone, state your name and address for the record, please? Please press the button one time.
Good afternoon. My name is Gensi Panche, and I'm the owner of 100 Lancaster.
Ave, also residing at 10 Roseclare Street in Boston. Initially, when I purchased this property, the first thing that I did, I asked my kids, because it's like a fifth project in this area, and I love this area. It was 3-1. My wife was against that. When I showed her a project, finally she said yes, it was beautiful, and I'm here today to ask you, gentlemen, about 4 feet on the front of the property to extend 2 bedrooms, which right now are 10 by 16, and make it those 10 by 20, just 4 feet on that area, and the rest is going to be wraparound deck. On this thing, I thought it's very easy, because it's the second time that I've been in front of the Board of Appeal, and I said, oh, piece of cake. So I received a phone call from Mr. Rizzuto, which is a very nice gentleman. He's going to be my neighbor, and saying that if I can get back 2 feet or extend it on the back, which I talked to my guys, and we couldn't, because I don't want to charge the ground or anything, but just to keep the existing foundation and just to go 4 feet in this one. Now I understand that Mr. Rizzuto property is on the back, and probably I can block a very slight fraction on his view, because his frontage is very, very good and big. But on my side is 2 feet on my bedrooms is a lot, because they are very narrow. And honestly, gentlemen, right now, I do have a really big bedroom, and this was one of the breaking points with my wife. As I said, I love this area. I want to be a new neighbor there, and everybody is excited. So that's why I'll bring Nora with me, my daughter. So please, gentlemen, if you consider this one and vote for me, I really appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Okay. Seeing that this is a public hearing, are there any proponents? Anyone in favor? Hearing none, I'll close that side of the hearing. Are there any opponents? Anyone opposed?
Hugo Rizzuto, 261 Rice Avenue. Gentlemen, thank you for the opportunity to speak before you. I live at 261 Rice, and as you know, I came before this board a while back regarding my property that I'm building at 265 Rice, which is right next door to Mr. Genji's property. The only portion of this project that Mr. Genji is doing is in question is that second floor 4-foot extension, okay? It does block a little bit of my view. It's a minimal blockage, and I understand that. We designed our house based on what was there now. We got our variance, we got our permits, conservation, we're all set. Unfortunately, we can't take our house and move it forward because he's now adding, 4 feet to his. So we have to live where we are. As far as this project is concerned, I'm okay with all the decking he wants to do. The only portion that I'm not okay with is that 4-foot extension. I called Mr. Genji last week in the hopes that we could come to some agreement. I'm not totally unreasonable. I'm going to be living next to this gentleman, and I want to be friends with him. I don't want to come home every day and worry about my neighbors, okay? So I was looking for some sort of compromise. He said that he needed the entire 4 feet. I'm at a loss here. To be honest with you, I would prefer if you can bring that 4 feet back 1 foot to 3 feet. I don't think it's a big loss on his part. So I respectfully request that you approve his project with a 3-foot extension, and furthermore, any decking that he does remain open decking. In other words, he doesn't put up any side walls. There's a couple houses down on Rice Ave where people have put up these side walls on the decking. It's still considered decking,
but that blocks views. So open decking, the extension, I would request that you make that 3 feet. I also recommended that if he wanted to, and this is a function of his builder and the engineering aspect, but if he wanted to extend the face of the house that's on Lancaster, it wouldn't affect anybody. He could extend that a foot, again, with your approval, of course. He could extend that a foot or two, and that would give him just as much room as he would have with the 4 feet. So that's my opposition. I hope it doesn't, bring me into negative light with my neighbor here. And I told him, I says, ultimately, the decision is in the board's hands. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other opponents? Seeing none, I'll close that side of the hearing. Is the ward councilor wish to speak? And just for the record, one of the plans show it 4 feet, 10 inches, and what we would be voting on is just 4 feet. We're not voting on the plan that showed 4 feet, 10 inches. We're voting on the plot plan that shows the 4 feet, just for the edification of everyone in the audience.
Good afternoon. John Powers, Revere City Council. I understand it has been, it is 4 feet, it's not 4'8", okay? As a councilor down there, I'd like to see my neighbors get along. I would like to see both people, opponents, proponents, leave here tonight happy, shaking hands, smiling at each other. My understanding is that this is going to be reduced to a one-family dwelling. Am I correct when I say that? Currently, it's a two-family. I think that is a plus for the neighborhood. There's a two-car garage there that would be required with a one-family. And again, it's your call to make. Again, I think the developer presents a nice-looking project. And I think Mr. Rizzuto, who is the neighbor, also has a concern with how far out the structure is coming. I understand there's going to be no structures on the bottom increased except for the deck, and there'll be a deck on the top floor. So with that said, I'm going to leave that in your hands. You're the deciding voice up here, and I hope that, again, then we'll listen to both parties' concerns, the proponent and also Mr. Rizzuto. Thank you.
Are there anyone else that wishes to speak? Any opponents? Any proponents? Hearing none, I'll close that side of the hearing. Just for the edification of the members, I did request the building inspector to come over here to clarify, because there were two different sizes, and he does state that we will put on our approval or disapproval, whatever, that it's 4 feet. It's not 4 feet, 10 inches, 4 feet, 8 inches, whatever. It's 4 feet extension. And then there's a deck on, which would extend outside of that. The next calendar item number?
The next matter before the board is application A1902, a special permit application of Andrea Gale Bennett, 19 Francisca Drive, Lynn, Mass, requesting a special permit pursuant to Title 17, Chapter 1740, Section 1740.040 of the revised ordinances of the City of Revere to enable the appellant to further alter and extend a non-conforming two-family structure at 46 Arcadia Street by constructing an addition 7 feet by 24 feet, an exterior deck 5 feet by 17 feet, rear stairs, and a second story at 46 Arcadia Street.
The applicant here. If you're representing the applicant, just state your name and address for the record, please.
John Andrews, architectural designer. I'm at Swampscott, Mass, 81 Burpee Road.
81?
Burpee Road is my address.
Okay. And the homeowner, or?
Andrea Gail Bennett, 19 Francesca Drive, Lynn, Massachusetts.
Okay.
And I'm the homeowner.
Thank you. Do you wish to add anything? I mean, the record speaks for itself pretty much.
Yeah, we would. So when when Andrea bought the project, the property, it was a two-level property, and it was dilapidated, of course, and falling down. And we went over to the building department. We said we'd just like to rebuild what was there. So it was already an existing two-family home. They then came back to site plan review, and they said, listen, you're in a flood zone. You got to do something about it. So we decided to put another story on top of it. We have the lower story now became parking for all 4 vehicles. So that's all enclosed there. The addition that they're talking about at the rear does meet the setbacks. And that's the only part of the addition we're asking for outside of the footprint. The height, too, we made sure the height stayed within the building code level. It's at 30 feet. And I think that's about all I can add.
Okay, seeing that this is a public hearing, I will ask, are there any proponents? Hearing none, proponent in favor, please step up to the microphone, state your name and address for the record.
Hi, Maureen Testa, 4850 Arcadia Street.
And
I came to see what Miss Andrea is going to put on the property, and I'm very happy that she is going to improve it, and everybody on our street is improving their property, which helps the rest of us. And I was just concerned with they're going to tear it down, and how she was going to build her foundation, and the drainage, because we get a lot of water. And that happens a lot, mostly in the spring and heavy rain. So I was showing her some pictures from my phone from before we got the snow this year. We had a lot of water back there. And I was just concerned with maybe not any damage to my property. So I asked her if she would provide me the name of her builder, her insurance company, and things like that, just in case something happens. And other than that, I wish her well, and I'm happy for her.
okay, thank you. Are there any other proponents? Hearing none, I'll close that side of the hearing. Any opponents? Hearing none, I'll close that side of the hearing. Does the ward council wish to speak?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My understanding is that that was always a one-family. I don't know when it became a two-family or how it became a two-family. I would also like to ask the developer if they're intended on tearing the structure that's there now down. Is that? I just heard a statement that they were going to add onto the top of it. So what is going to remain there of the existing structure?
There'll be the foundation that's there now, because the foundation's at just a grade, so the foundation doesn't go below the earth. You know what I mean? So that's, it's a grade, there's like a 1-foot foundation wall going around it, but in the back part of it's really where the damage is. It's falling apart there, so we're going to repair that, and then repair the 2 stories that are there.
Where is the parking going to be for 4 vehicles?
Right into the building.
Okay, well, I guess what I'd like to ask is this, first we ascertain whether or not this is a two-family, and if it is, that's one thing. If it isn't, I'd like to ask that we continue the hearing.
Okay.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else wish to speak? Okay. I live on the street next to it. I'm not the direct abutter, so I have to disclose that, so I wasn't within your notification. But I have a lot of questions. First off, this home is definitely in disrepair. And you would probably have to do the whole foundation to meet the the Conservation Commission's regulations, because just to put anything on that, you couldn't use the existing foundation structure If you want to step up to the microphone, that's fine.
We haven't had an engineer's evaluation yet of the structure because we're waiting to see if we got our approval yet. But we will get that, and then, you know, if they come back and they'll probably, you're probably right, I'm just guessing with what I'm looking at, they'll probably say, hey, listen, you've got to probably rip up some of that, a lot of that structure and then redo it down. We don't want to change the existing footprint other than that addition that we're adding on the back, which is within the setback.
Okay. I've been at the property several times because it had the cease and desist and the do not enters for years there. What is the intent for, is this an owner occupied or is this just a thing that's going to be flipped?
The intent is to make it a two-family, and most likely my son, adult son, would be living in one unit, so.
Okay.
Family.
All righty.
occupied.
Thank you for that. And I've read the jacket from the building department. In 1993, there was an approval of a studio apartment in that. And then they got their certificate of occupancy, I believe, in June. And then in December, they got the two-family portion of that. What is the design layout of this for habitability right now? What do you plan on putting in there? One-bedroom studios?
It would be two bedrooms, so they'd be right on top of each other, you know, and then it would be 2 bedrooms, and like we talked about, the lower level would just be parking for both units side by side. So the parking at the lower level would be cut in half, be tandem parking inside the building.
So these both would be two-bedroom units?
Yes. Two two-bedroom units, yes.
Okay. And you realize you'd have to go in front of conservation no matter what, just because of the floodplain and the elevation has changed down in that area. So it's a much higher elevation than the existing. I would like to first find out, looking at that jacket actually, to make sure that this unit is actually a two-family, or is it defined as a two-family with a studio? Because the jacket does say that there is a studio unit in that. So my motion would be to continue this until we get that clarification from the building inspector. The other thing that I would recommend is that one of these units be a one-bedroom and not a two-bedroom. So to keep it, we're concerned about the amount of people living in the area, and our schools and everything else are issues. But even if you were going to keep them two bedrooms each, my more concern is that the jacket does say that it was approved for a studio, and then it became a two-family. So the first ground level was approved for a studio unit. So I don't know how you can alter and take away the ground level, and that's why I want clarification from the building department.
Oh, okay, because
Just before we go and do all of this, because it's very confusing looking at the actual building department's information.
Right, and that's what we talked to them about, and that's where they said, well, you can go above a second story at site plan review. That's where that came out. We originally wanted to keep it the way it was.
Well, you couldn't leave it the way it was because you have to have 4 off-street parking spaces to make a two-family.
There was spots.
You had 2 spaces on the side.
There was 4 actually from the site plan that we had.
Correct.
There was 4 parking spots in there.
Two
That's
on
how
the
it got
side,
documented.
2 on the side, a garage, and a spot in front of that garage door.
It's actually, it's not long enough to park in front of the garage, so you would have to get a variance. Again, I live on Wood Street over, so.
No, I definitely know, but I mean, this is what was brought to us, and then somehow it got approved, so we don't know.
The building inspector is the one who told us that we could not put habitable space on that ground level.
No, and I totally agree with the whole logic of what you're doing, because it's definitely going to be an improvement for the area. My concerns would be that you'd have to still go in front of conservation and find out about the elevation and to see if you can actually keep the 30 feet, because I don't know what your elevation will be for a foundation. I have a foundation that I had to be 4-foot elevation on Ellerton Street when they built back in 25 years ago. So I think you're going to even have to be higher with the new elevation, because they went 11-foot elevation now with the new FEMA.
Well, I mean, even if it comes to the point where it's got to be even close to 8 feet, the rest of that is just knee wall.
Mhm.
I mean, that's just like having a concrete encased garage. You just decide to build it out of concrete and above that, that's all we want to do.
Mhm.
So if it has to be increased, we don't have a problem with that.
Alrighty. So that's my only concern. I would ask that we have a motion to continue this till we define what that studio is and how that's going to work into you getting a certificate of occupancy for a two-family. Because I'd hate to have you go through all of this and then have them say, wait a minute. If you look in the jacket, it says there's it's occupancy just for a studio apartment on the first level. I can definitely say that you're not going to be building on that first level because you definitely don't want to be that low.
Right. So will we hear when you guys do the?
March 27th would be our next meeting. And is there anyone that conflict with anyone? Okay, so our next scheduled meeting would be March 27th. And I'd ask for a roll call on the continuance of this calendar item number.
Question before the board is continuing this matter to the meeting of March 27th at 4 p.m. Mr. Pacilli? Yes. Mr. D'Angelo? Yes. Mr. Lopes? Yes. Mr. Mazzoni? Yes. Mr. Tucker?
Yes.
This is continued to March 27th.
I do have one more question. This property has been deemed a public health hazard, and how does that affect all of this if we're now waiting for 2 more months? I don't want to be...
I don't believe you can't occupy it, so I think it's just, you have, the signs are posted on that property for it being unable to be occupied and a do not enter, am I correct?
Correct. However, there is an order from the city stating that if nothing is done with the property, that it will be fined $500 a day until work gets done. So
we're asking for a continuance to get a clarification, so I believe that you shouldn't have a problem with that, and I'll confirm that with the building inspector. That shouldn't be an issue. You would still have to maintain, if it snowed, to maintain the sidewalk out front to clear it and make sure there's no debris, because code violations for having stuff like that is not under our control. As far as the building structure itself, by the motion to continue, I think that you should be having no issues with that, because the building inspector did say that we should get the clarification. And now we're going to vote on calendar item number A19-01 with the understanding that it stipulates the 4-foot and the unenclosed decks.
Question now before the board is the application A1901 special permit requesting a 4-foot by 22-foot extension on second-story addition on the Rice Avenue side of the existing dwelling with various decks on Rice Avenue and Lancaster, unenclosed decks. Question comes before the board. Mr. Pacilli? Yes. Yes. Mr. D'Angelo? Yes. Yes. Mr. Lopes? Yes. Yes. Mr. Mazzoni? Yes. Yes. Mr. Tucker?
No.
No. It is granted, subject to the conditions.
No further business. Our next meeting will be March 27th at 4 p.m.